Today's lesson is finding the percent of a quantity. In this question it says find 5% of 160. There's two methods that we can find the answer, so I'm going to show you both, and then you can decide which one works better for you. In the first method, we would use a bar modeling, so we would draw our bar. And this would represent 100%, which in this question it says is 160. We want to find out what 5% of 160 would be. 5% would be somewhere around there. First thing we want to do is find out what 1% would equal. So in order to find what 1% would equal, we would do 160 divided by the 100%. And you would get 1.6. Now that we know what 1% equals, we can find out what 5% equals by multiplying 1 6/10 times 5, the 5%. When you multiply, you find that your answer would be 8. So 5% of 160 would equal 8. Let's try it in the other method. The word of really means multiplication. So following that, we would be doing 5% times 160. We have to convert the percent to a fraction. So 5% is really 5 over 100, 5 hundredths, multiplied by 160 over 1. In this one, we can cross simplify. We can divide both sides by 20. So 100 divided by 20 really equals 5. And 160 divided by 20 equals 8. When you multiply across, 5 times 8 is 40. And 5 times 1 is 5, which equals 8. So we find that 5% of 160 is 8. Let's try another example. What is 40% of 720 centimeters? So in the first method, the 720 centimeters would represent 100%, so the whole bar. We're looking for how much would 40% of that 720 equal. So first we want to find out what 1% would equal. We can do this by doing 720, our total, and dividing it by the 100%. $720 goes inside the house, and 100 is on the outside. 100 goes into 720 7 times, which equals 700, with 20 left over. We'll put up our decimal, and then bring down a 0. 100 goes into 200 2 times, so 1% would end up equaling 7 2/10. Now that we know what the 1% equals, we can find out what 40% equals by taking the 1% and multiplying it by the 40. When you do the multiplication, you find that your answer would be 288. So 40% of 720 centimeters is 288 centimeters. Let's try the other method. Now we're going to find 40% of 720 centimeters by multiplying, because the word of really means multiplication. So we would do 40% times 720. Before you can multiply, we'd have to turn our percent into a fraction. So 40% is really 40 out of 100 times 720 over 1. In this one, we can cross simplify. So we can divide both 100 and 720 divided by 20, which would give us 5. And 720 divided by 20 would equal 36. When you multiply across, 40 times 36 would give you 1,440. 5 times 1 is 5. When you divide 1,440 by 5, 5 goes into 14 2 times. Bring down the 4. 5 goes into 44 8 times, which would equal 40. Bring down the 0. 5 goes into 40 8 times. So our answer would again be 288 centimeters. Pause the video and try this practice problem on your own. Use whichever method works best for you. Okay, let's go over the problem. What is 75% of 800 kilograms? There's two methods we could have used, so we'll go over both of them. In the first one, you could have done the bar modeling. The entire bar would be 100%, and that would equal our 800 kilograms. They want to know what 75% of the 800 would be. So in order to do that, we need to find out what 1% would equal. So we'd have to take the 800, divide it by the 100%, and we would get the answer of 8. So 1% equals 8. We can use the 1% to find out what 75% would be by taking the 1% and multiplying it by 75. When you do out the multiplication, you should have gotten the answer 600. So 75% of 800 kilograms is 600 kilograms. Let's try the second method. 75% times 800, because of means multiplication. The first thing we need to do is convert the percent into a fraction, so 75 out of 100 times 800 over 1. In this problem, you can cross simplify by dividing both 100 and 800 by 100. So that would equal 1, and that would equal 8. When you multiply across, 75 times 8 is 600, and 1 times 1 is 1, so our answer would be 600 kilograms. Okay, now we're going to apply what we know about finding the percent of a number to solve this problem. Kaylin has 8% of her CD collection in a box. If there are 96 CDs in the box, then how many CDs are in Kaylin's collection? So first we're going to draw out our bar, and the whole bar equals the 100%, which we don't currently know. But we do know that Kaylin has 8% of her CD collection in a box, and that 8% is 96, because it says there are 96 CDs in the box. We can use this 8% equals 96 to find out what 1% would equal. We can find the 1% by taking 96 and dividing it by the 8%, and we would get 12. So 1% really equals 12 CDs. If we're looking for 100%, we need to do 12, which is the 1%, and multiply it by the 100, and we would get 1,200. So Kaylin has 1,200 CDs in her collection. Okay, let's try another one. 27% of the students in a school are in grade 6. This is 540 students. How many students are in the school? So we're going to start by drawing our bar model. The entire bar represents 100%, which is all the students in the school. And we don't currently know what 100% is equal to. But we do know that 27% of the students are in grade 6. And we know that 27% equals 540 students. We know this because it says this is 540 students. We can use 27% to find out what our 1% would equal by doing 540 divided by the 27%, and we would get 20. So 1% would equal 20 students. We now can find 100% by taking the 1%, which is 20 students, and multiplying it by 100, and we would get 2,000. So there are 2,000 students in the school. Pause the video and try this practice problem on your own. Okay, let's go over the problem. At an amusement park, 60% of the people were adults and the rest were children. There were 720 adults. How many people were at the amusement park? So we're going to start by drawing our bar model, which equals 100%, which we don't currently know, and that's all the people at the amusement park. But we do know that 60% of the people there were adults, and there were 720 adults. We can use this 60% to find out what 1% would equal by doing 720 divided by 60, and we find that each percent equals 12 people at the amusement park. We can use the 1% to find 100%, all the people at the amusement park, by taking the 1%, which was 12 people, and multiplying it by 100, and you get 1,200 people at the amusement park. Now I want you to rate yourself. Give yourself a percentage rating, with 100% being that you understand completely and 0% representing that you do not understand the material. So you may want to give yourself a 90%, which means you understand pretty well, but you may need to practice a little bit more to get to that 100%. If you put a 70%, you may have an okay understanding, but still need more practice in solving these types of problems.